This is really critical that I'm excited to hear this story. You had what you felt was misinformation in pricing.
Right. So David Hall and I and Gordon Rubel and Bruce Amspatcher would go to one of our hotel rooms after a coin show and sit and discuss, okay, how are we going to write these books? What are we going to write them? You know, what are we going to do? And what type of books are we going to write? So
it's exciting. You're like, you want to fix things, you want to change things, you want more information out
there. So this went on for probably 4 or 5 months. And then one night, David came in and said, instead of writing books, let's just do something. And he said, how about we grade coins and guarantee the grade and authenticity? And I'll have to tell you,
that's bold.
Seth, that was the most transformative night of my life, because we all saw that vision. We never knew it would lead as far as it did. We didn't know that the revolution was going to be a complete, an utter revolution in the coin market. We thought, in fact, when it started, they told me that, oh, you'll never have to come to California. We'll never get over 10 or 15,000 coins a month to grade. Well, of course, that quickly changed. And about 3 or 4 months into PCGS, which started in February of '86, I got a call from David, and all he said on the other line was, help. I went, yeah, I get it. You need me to come to California. So I started from '86 to '96. I flew out and graded every other week. I would still go into coin shows, but
let's talk about that night in the hotel room. So you guys are sitting there, you're talking, you're having trouble, or it's a lot more difficult to update prices that you felt were more accurate on the coins you were working with. And then it's like, okay, so we want to write books, we want to be more broad. And then David Hall makes this statement of, why don't we grade coins, guarantee the grade, which is the big, bold statement, like we're believing in what we're doing. Our opinions matter. So we'll guarantee the grade. And then was there a discussion around, because Annex at the time would put them in flips, but actually creating a slab, like to actually encase it, so it could be freely traded, so everyone could accept it. No room for manipulation of the coin.
They were just putting the coins. They were taking the picture of the coin.
And how many people were in that meeting?
There were just the 4 of us. It was David, Gordy, Bruce, and I. We met probably for 6 or 8 months, and then we decided, okay, well, how do we get this off the ground? We realized consensus grading was the way to do it. If one person is accurate, 2 people are more accurate, 3 people or 4 people are very accurate.
Yeah, right. I'd go for that. And at the time, you know, I wasn't around back then, but you and David Hall were like the leading professional numismatists, the leading dealers. So when you said something, most people were inclined to believe it, to take your opinion, right?
There were a lot of experts out there, you know, from Jim Halpern to you know, across the board. You know, so there were a lot of people that were very respected in the coin industry as far as their grading skills, and that was, I think, the reason Jim hired me, because when I showed him coins, remember, this is the raw days, so you could mark anything you wanted to on a holder, but you had to sell it to the person on the other side of the table. So if your grading skills match their grading skills, and David and I saw similar, Gordon and I saw similar, and Bruce did, we all had similar taste and ideas about how coins should be graded. So we decided, well, how do we set up the grading scale? So we took coins and took them to coin shows and had dealers, collectors grade them. And that's how we set up the original grading standards. So if a coin that was in our box, we'd hand somebody a box of coins and they were numbered, just in flips, and you would write down your grade.
Really, that's cool. Okay,
and that's how we came up with the original idea, or the original grading set, was those coins. And if we had a consensus, if it was a 38D Buffalo and everybody graded at 65, that became the standard.
So explain to me, like, about how many people, you only showed it to people that you respected their grading opinion?
We showed them to collectors and dealers, and we didn't, you know, pick out, well, we like that dealer better than this dealer.
You're like, that guy's pretty good, let's see what will grade this.
We knew the dealers that we felt that knew how to grade coins, and so we showed them to them. But we basically would let anybody that wanted to put their grades down, because I think it was important. There were probably 50 or 60 or more people that actually put the grades down on those coins. And you know, when you see a coin and it had a lot of different grades on it, we would throw that out. It was a coin that we couldn't get a consensus on. But it was amazing how many coins in that group of coins that there was consensus on. You know, Morgan dollars, $20 gold pieces, you know, Buffalo nickels, Mercury dimes. So we were able to get a pretty good start on a grading set. So that was late '85.
So this is interesting because you know, that you found that consensus right away, because you know, we can expand more on this further on, but you know, the consensus usually is the professional graders get it right or are in agreement about 75 to 80% of the time.
Yeah, that's
you know, you get together a group of 10 really sharp people, 7 to 8 will kind of agree on the same grade.
Right.
So you found that to kind of naturally, organically occurring with the collector and dealer community, who was already kind of pretty sharp for what they're doing.
So you know, when we started hiring graders, you know, they would bring them in to test them. And so you were graded. You would get a printout of what you graded it.
And it's probably one of those old laser dot prints.
Right.
Like it's pulled out. That's cool.
With the perforated edges and stuff.
Right, because you know, thousands of you are going to watch this video, but there's going to be a couple thousand, like especially younger numismatists that have no idea what we're talking about. But it's exciting to hear that.
What a dot matrix printer is. No, that's
so the report card.
Report card. So you would get your report card, and it might be this thick. You know, it would be a stack of the green and white bar sheets. You know. And you know, you were excited at the end of the week because you'd flip through there and look and see that you hit 78%. I remember one time I hit 91%, and that's that consistency. And you know, that's what you were looking for. You were looking for the people that could hit, like you said, 70 to 80% is a good percentage. But if you get 2 or 3 people together, they're going to get those coins that maybe there's not a consensus on, but you're going to get a group of people together, and sometimes we'd have multiple grades on coins. And I remember as a finalizer, there was a 93S dollar that came.
Explain what finalizer means.
Okay, today they have what they call a verifier. The computer averages grades, and then it goes into the holder, and then the verifier is the person that looks at it to make sure that the grade is accurate. And if he looks at it, he can go look at the history and see, well, there were 2 5s and a 6 on this coin, and he might look at it and say, well, this coin really probably should be a 6. So then he can take that coin and go show it to another grader, or he can use his grade and you know, and change the grade. But
it's a very valuable concept. It really, really is.
Well, you need that filter at the end. So, but before that.
But it's good to hear that, because we all know that nobody agrees. And so if you have 2 graders graded at MS65, 1 grades at MS66, you're kind of the shot caller. You're at the very end, and you're like, you know what? I think I kind of agree with the minority here. I think this coin's more like a 66. Let me go back in the grading room, have a discussion, pick out another grader, and make a call. So that's going above and beyond.
I think
that's pretty good.
That's what made it successful, because
you want to get it right.
You could get it right. You know, the saying was right, not tight. Because it was very easy at first for people just to put MS65 on a coin that today we would look at and go, why would they grade it 65? That coin's a 6 or 7. You know, and I
hope that was that.
Well, we just went dark.
That was funny, actually. We got to leave that in. You know what I mean? Somehow we got to make a joke of that.
Yeah, well,
you know,
we're back from the dark.
So this is a very slippery slope, because I think we could probably do about 19 hours of you, because we're getting into like people out there, they really want to hear about the nuances of grading. People are obsessed with grading, rightfully so. I mean, this is PCGS Slab Lab. It's the grading is in the name, but I'm still really intrigued, and this is what's great about this platform, is we get to memorialize the story of the founding of PCGS. Like when it went from 4 people and an idea in a hotel room to this monster that was just bought for gazillions of dollars. You know, it's just, nobody. Did you have any idea that it would end from that hotel room?
I mean, as I said, they told me that I would never be called out to grade
Yeah.
until they realized, wait a minute, this is a lot more successful than we thought it was going to be.
Right away, it was just like, oh my God. It
Yeah,
was like,
but March or April of '86,
Uh-huh.
a couple of months in, they called me up and I started going out and grading. And you were asking the difference in a finalizer and a verifier.
Yeah.
But remember, this is pre-computers.
Right.
So you graded a coin in a flip, and you put your grade on the back. So the individual graders had different colored pins in different areas on the back of the coin.
Yeah.
So that as a finalizer, when you flipped it over, you'd pull the coin out and grade it. So I pull a coin out, I grade it 65. I'll give you a real example, a 93 dollar. And I look at it and I turn it over, and I don't remember the three grades on it, but it was maybe a 4, a 4 plus, and a 5 minus. Remember, at this time, pluses and minuses meant different. If you put a 4 plus on a coin, that means that you thought it was a 4, but you could see it as a 5. If you put 5 minus, you thought it was a 5, but if the finalizer wanted to put it in a 4 holder, you were okay with that, even though you thought it was an acceptable 5. So the pluses and minuses meant different than today. Today, you know what a 4 plus or a 5 plus means, but back then, as a finalizer, you use the pluses and minuses. So if you turn a coin over and you have a 4 plus, and a 5, you could go either way. If you were a finalizer and you pulled it out and you thought it was a 5, you could put it in a 5. If you thought it was a 4, you had 2 4s on it already, so you were the third 4, so it could be finalized as a 4. Then what you would do is you would write the final grade on the front of the flip and circle it, and then it would put it back in the box and then pull out the next one. Remember, this is pre-computer times, so you didn't have a little scanner to tell you that what the next coin was up on your computer screen. There were no computer screens. You were grading. You were just given a box, and the box had an ID number on it, so you didn't know whose coins they were. But each coin had been assigned a coin number, just like they do today, except that it's done with computers. So as you looked at the coins, you would finalize each individual coin. Well, this 93 dollar had 4 or 5 graders on it already. It had been through the grading group, and I thought it was a 5. And so, but there were mainly 4s on it. But there were a couple of 4 pluses, but they're mostly 4s. And so I finally went to a grader and said, put your thumb over the date. It's an 80 dollar. What is it grade? It was one of the guys that put a 4 on it, and he sat there for a minute and went, yeah, you're right, it is a 5. So that coin finally went out as a 5. I think it was the first 93 dollar that graded 5.
Wow.
It's a very, easy 5 today. But it was hard to get coins into higher grade holders at the time because people weren't used to seeing past 65. That was sort of the upper limit for a lot of people. A lot of the graders, if the best they could see was 65, because remember, this was before 65, 66, 67, all of the intermediate grades. We didn't use 61 and 62. It was 60 or 63.
Right.
So you had a big leeway there, and we realized quickly that those intermediate grades were important. So those were quickly added in.
Yeah, that was interesting because it seems like historically, for 20 years before this, you'd have a lot of adjectives. You'd have BU, choice BU, gem BU, and every now and then superb gem BU. But to me, a gem BU is the finest coin. When I hear the word gem BU, I think, wow. But on the Sheldon scale, it means MS65. So I could see in the grading room, you're getting used to this 11-point scale. You're mostly using like lower numbers, but kind of the top of the food chain was really like a 65 or a 66.
That was when we call a coin a gem, it could be a 5, 6, or a 7 today.
Right.
But those they were gem coins, and that's the, like you said, the adjectives were very important back then. If you call a coin choice BU, today it might be a 3 or a 4 probably, but back then, a choice BU was a coin that didn't make gem. And a gem coin had to have the attributes that you were looking for, the strike, the luster, the lack of marks. But it was very hard at first to get graders to see beyond 65. It was very difficult.
It's a big call too as well. And they're like, this is like the top, this is 65, that's it. So how long were you a grader in the grading room?
I graded from 86 to 96,
Okay.
Pretty much every other week. And I flew out from Memphis, where I was living. I was lucky. Memphis was a hub at the point at that time, and it was before they Northwest merged with Delta. But I had 2 nonstops a day.
Wow.
So I would fly in on Sunday night, and I would leave Friday afternoon.
Got it. Okay.
But after 10 years, it was hard to go to coin shows and come out here every other week. My kids were young, so David one day asked me, why don't you write the grading book that we talked about doing way back when?
Yeah, but back in that hotel room.
Yeah, back in the hotel where we started.
Right.
So we went back and I said, okay. So David Hall and I flew to New York, met with Random House, and we sat in it was a deli at Wolf's Deli at 56th
Oh yeah, I know that.
and
Yeah.
7th. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
But it was right down from Stacks on 7th Avenue.
Great corned beef sandwiches.
Yeah,
pastrami.
right.
Oh, yeah,
So
it's
we sat
unbelievable.
there and we signed an 11-page contract to write the grading book. And so I asked David, I said, I can't grade coins and do this. He said, no, just stay home and write the grading book. So for 9 months, I sat at home and punched out the grading book. And when I turned in the manuscript, it was a little over 300,000 words. I'd never read the contract. David didn't read the contract. He signed an 11-page contract without reading it.
Yeah.
Which probably wasn't a wise thing to do, but we felt comfortable with Random House, and I said I don't know what to tell you. Nobody told me that I was supposed to read the contract, but I didn't. They wanted a 100,000 word manuscript, so I went through and eliminated a lot of the stories about coins.
Right.
And we got it down to 225,000 words, and they said, you know what, we like it like this.
Right.
So that's how the PCGS grading guide went from 100,000 words to 225,000 words. But it was a fun project. It's difficult when you think about it. We all used to sit and look at a coin under a light and going, oh, it's a 65. Oh, maybe it's a little better than that. But to put that into words, you got to think about strike and eye appeal, which is the hardest thing, and marks. Where the marks are. The focal point of a Morgan silver dollar is the face. If it's got a couple of marks.